I'm Clint Arthur, and this is Celebrity Expert Spotlight. Today we have Dr. Elliot Hirshorn. He's the founder of the New Life Weight Loss Program. Dr. Elliot Hirshorn, thanks so much for coming in. How are you, and what's going on in the world of New Life weight loss?
Well, Clint, I'm fantastic, and my goal over the next 10 years or so is to impact the lives of 1 million people for better health. And the next step in that journey is I'm working on a book, and it's called Healing and Health from the Inside Out.
Health from the inside out.
Yes.
You know, so many people are looking to take a pill and put that health into them, but you don't think that's the right way?
It's not the right strategy, at least not to start. And really the inspiration for this comes from the earliest memory I have as a kid. So I was with my dad, and I was in his bedroom, and he lifts me up, he puts me on his bed, and he says, "Elliot, I love you, and I love your brother, but it's just not working out anymore for your mom and I have to move out." And I was 4 years old, and I didn't know what to do or say, so I just gave him this huge hug, and I started crying. Later on that night, he came into my room, sat on my bed to tuck me in, and I looked over at my big pile of stuffed animals, and I pulled out my favorite. It was Wile E. Coyote from the Roadrunner, right? And so I handed it to my dad, and I said, "Don't forget about me." And the next morning, my mom picks me up. She takes me down the street to a neighbor's house for safekeeping because my dad was going to be moving out. And so I went into the house, I went over to the window, and I pulled back the shades, and I peered out the window looking down towards my house, and I saw this big moving truck in the driveway. And then there's this huge box coming out of my house, and it was my dad. He was carrying his stuff to the truck. So he puts the box in the truck, he jumps up on the back, he pulls the rolling door down, and he hops in the cab. He backs out of the driveway and goes down the street. And so I'm craning my neck as far as I can to see him as he's going off into the distance. And my mom comes back, she picks me up, and she takes me to Country Acres Daycare and drops me off for the day because now she has to go to work. She can't be a single mom anymore. And I didn't know what was going to happen, when I was going to see my dad, when I was going to see my mom, because it was all new to me. And so what happened is, by the time the end of the day came around, all of us kids were kind of walking up towards the window looking for our parents, and I didn't know who was coming to pick me up. I was hoping it was my dad, because I didn't know when I was going to see him again. And so I looked down the dirt road, the dirt driveway, and I see this orange truck turn the corner into the driveway. And all I can think is that my dad? I hope it's my dad. And so the truck pulls up towards the driveway. My dad gets out, and he comes to the door, and I run over, and I give him this huge hug. And he says, "Elliot, come on. I'm going to take you to my new place." So I get in the truck, and he turns the truck on, turns the engine on, and the radio comes on. And don't you know what song plays? "Don't you forget about me. Don't you forget about me," which just so happened to be the #1 song at that time. And in somehow my 4-year-old brain, I felt like, okay, things are probably going to be okay. So we went to my dad's apartment. It wasn't the nicest place. It wasn't in the greatest part of town. And he showed me around, and there was a room that he had set up for my brother and I. And he said, "Elliot, you hungry?" And I said, "Yeah, let's eat." And so we went over into the kitchen, and he opens up the freezer. He pulls out this big box of frozen chicken Parmesan.
Oh.
Puts it in the oven, starts heating it up. And then he gets out a saucepan, and he opens up a can of white potatoes and dumps the white potatoes in the saucepan, throws some butter in there, and starts heating it up. And this was the first time I saw my dad cook this meal of many thousands of times to come.
The same meal?
Same meal.
Over and over?
Over and over again. Because my dad didn't know how to cook, and now he finds himself a single dad, right? And so eventually I went back to my mom's place, and now my mom is a single mom, but she's also a single working mom. Having come from being a homemaker where she was making homemade meals for my brother and I, now she's coming home from work, tired, exhausted, not having a whole lot of time or energy to be able to do what she did before. And so she pulled out a can of SpaghettiOs with hot dogs in it. And my brother and I love that stuff. You know, we as kids, you love that kind of food.
Kids love
right?
that stuff.
Right. So that really started to shape my foundation and beliefs and behaviors about eating. So, you know, I don't blame my parents for any of that. I take full responsibility for my health as an adult. But fast forward to being 26 years old. I was a high school science teacher. I was teaching biology and anatomy and physiology. And I came home from work one day, and I sat on the couch. I turned the TV on. It's like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And before I knew it, I was passed out sleeping. And this went on month after month after month. 26-year-old, I should be doing things that 26-year-old guys do. I had a wife and a dog. I should be walking the dog. I should be doing things in the yard. Here I am passed out, sleeping in the middle of the afternoon. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? So eventually I got on the scale and I looked down and I saw a number I hadn't seen before.
Uh-oh.
And I was like, what the heck? So I kind of looked it up a bit and I realized that I'm getting close to the obesity line. And so I realized, okay, I got to do something about this. Well, around the same time, I was also having a crisis with my career. I did not enjoy teaching in high school. I enjoyed teaching, but not in that venue. So I looked up the word teaching and teacher, and I found that the root word in Latin for teaching is doco, which is also where we get our English word for doctor. And so I was already familiar with and passionate about the human body, teaching anatomy and physiology, and I realized, okay, well maybe I don't want to teach high school students, but I could teach people about health if I became a doctor. And I realized the first person I needed to teach about health was myself, because I was in a situation where I had no energy and I was gaining weight and becoming obese. So I decided to go back to school to be a doctor so I could learn how can I get healthy. And so I learned how to get what causes people to gain weight, what causes people to lose their energy and have all these symptoms. And I learned that if I could get healthy from the inside out, then I could get rid of these problems. And so I lost 25 pounds, I got my energy back. And the thing that I learned is that the key to successful and sustainable weight loss, to getting your energy back, to resolving unresolved chronic health problems, is you truly need to get healthy from the inside out. You can't put a Band-Aid on it from the outside, like taking a medicine, as you mentioned earlier. And so I did that for myself and realized, hey, I've got family members that need this as well. I have mental health problems in my family. I have dementia in my family, heart disease, diabetes. All of these things could be beneficial. And so I realized not only are my own family members could benefit from this, but that's when it turned into a passion for helping others get healthy from the inside out as well.
Now, you lost your brother a few years ago.
I did, yeah, and so that's part of the mental health struggle in my family as well. And so it was 2014, and my brother was a veteran from the Army, and he came back from Iraq after a year of duty, and he was struggling with anxiety and depression. And he went to the VA, and he told them on numerous occasions, hey, I'm dealing with this. He didn't have a specific plan for suicide, so they didn't have anything. They told him we couldn't do anything. You don't have a plan, we can't do anything, other than the medications that he was taking. And so he got to the point where I guess he felt like he had no other option, and he hung himself on August 29th of 2014, leaving behind 4 children.
Oh.
And so that was just early in my career, right as I was just starting to become a doctor. And so that further motivated me to help people, because when you look at the research for mental health problems, for example, anxiety and depression, it all goes back to something called inflammation. Inflammation is like a fire inside the body, and the largest source of inflammation for the average American is the food that we eat. And so we need to fuel the body with real food, not fool it with food-like substances, which is what is on every shelf in the grocery store.
Amen to that. How can people find out more about your new book and the New Life Weight Loss Program?
Yeah, so you can go to drelliothirshorn.com, and if that's too much, go to hopehealinghealth.com as well, and that'll take you to learn more information about how we could help.
My guest has been Dr. Elliot Hirshorn. Thanks so much for joining us on Celebrity Expert Spotlight. Great job.